Hello, Emily. How you doing, girl? It's your dad, Miguel Angelo Trujillo. And today is the day after Christmas, the 26th of December, 2018. How are you doing, girl? Hope you're doing well. I myself am doing fabulously. It's true. Truly fabulous. I don't think I've felt better ever in my life. Ever. Ever. I know, it's amazing to think of it. So I hope you had a really fantastic, amazing Christmas day. I did. I had a pretty fantastic day. I mean, it was pretty amazing, really. I started off the morning by reading like I do normally. I've got a habit where I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I read for 30 minutes. And after that reading for 30 minutes, then I pop up out of bed at 5 a.m. So for me, I'm early to bed, early to rise. It makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I think that's really true. So long as you're able to program in good, healthy habits in your morning routine. If you don't program in good, healthy habits in your morning routine, then I'm not sure it is very conducive to being healthy, wealthy, and wise. So, yeah, I read for 30 minutes and then I got up, had breakfast, and I made chocolate chip cookies. That's right, homemade chocolate chip cookies. In fact, I baked vegan homemade chocolate chip cookies, calorie conscious homemade vegan chocolate chip cookies. So what I mean by calorie conscious is that I knew how many calories were in each cookie by weight. That's just the way I cook. I cook in a very calorie conscious way. Some people use portion control. I use calorie counting as my technique of choice. Let's see what else. They're vegan, which means that they had no eggs, no milk, no animals were harmed in the making of my cookies. So I'm pleased to know that. I used a butter that is a dairy butter substitute. I think the butter uses coconut oil and soybean oil. The chocolate chips just have 3 ingredients in them. I forget what they are. I think it's like cocoa and soy lecithin and who knows what else. Sugar, maybe. And they were semi-sweet chocolate chips. And then I used a substitute egg. It's essentially, I don't know what it is in it, but it acts as a substitute egg. I think I got it from Bob's Red Mill. It's pretty good stuff. Anyway, it serves its purpose from a chemistry standpoint. All food boils down to chemistry and physics. Correct? That's right. The thermodynamics of food. That would make a good book. So I made my chocolate chip cookies. And then, I did some other things. And then I went to the gym. And I did an upper body workout. Bench press. All kinds. Tricep extension. Easy curl bar. Dumbbell curls. Incline press. The regular stuff. Regular exercises. And I felt really good after that workout. I really had a fantastic workout. I mean, just over the top, fantastic. I made gains in a number of exercises. And so I was really pleased with that. So, and then that wasn't all. If it wasn't just that, if it would have just been that, I could have been satisfied for Christmas Day. But no, there was more. I know. I can't believe there's more either. But I got together with some friends at Grover Beach near the ocean, literally on the beach. where we had a bonfire, essentially a bonfire Christmas celebration. Someone brought his ukulele. I brought my homemade vegan, calorie conscious chocolate chips, chocolate chip cookies, and my Santa hat. And we built a fire and we hung out and we talked for basically 2 hours and just hung out, had nice conversations, took a photograph. I'll send you a photograph of it when I send you my next letter. So I don't know, December 25th was pretty awesome, an awesome day. And guess what? I topped it off with today, which has also been an amazing day. Today's the 26th of December. So I woke up this morning, of course, at 4:30. I read for my 30 minutes, how I read every morning for 30 minutes, and then got ready. And then the first thing I made for breakfast was homemade breakfast pizza. I know, it's incredible. So I made homemade breakfast pizza. I had some vegan sausage. I used potato, and I threw together a pizza crust using Bisquick, and I also had some pizza sauce. So pull that all together, in 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, I had my own calorie conscious breakfast pizza. And let me tell you, I love breakfast pizza with, I had a potato and sausage on it. And I also threw down some salt, pepper. And I'm a big fan of cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is, oh man, it is so good. Cayenne pepper, red chili flakes. So I had the hot spiciness. I still have a little hot spicy flavor on my tongue right now. So I'm really enjoying that. I mean, and the meal isn't done until the dishes are done. And I did the dishes today after the meal. So I'm feeling inspired. It's still super early in the morning. It's not even 8 o'clock. I'm already headlong into my video presentation for you today. So I'm feeling really good, really strong, really energetic. Like I've got my life on lock. That's for sure. Life is on lock right now. So pleased to enjoy cooking. In the last 2 days, I've cooked chocolate chip cookies and a breakfast pizza. I'm already thinking about what I might be cooking for lunch today. What an amazing pastime, an enjoyable pastime that cooking is. I've got a fridge chock full of amazing foods, all vegan, of course, and loving every minute of it. Let me tell you, I'm so pleased that things are going so well. It occurred to me that my life goes really well, mainly because I've got the energy to live it. And the only reason I have the energy to live it is that I exercise on a regular basis. Like, for example, I'm going exercising today, which is what, Wednesday? That'll mark the 4th day in a row that I exercise. That is, getting sweaty at the gym every day for 4 days straight. And then I'll probably work out tomorrow. Again, getting sweaty and working out every day. Substantial workouts, 45-minute, hour-long workouts every single day to give me the energy to live my life. What does that allow me to do? It allows me to make breakfast every morning. It allows me to make my bed and to do the dishes after I do the cooking. What does it allow me to do? It allows me to go to amusement parks every weekend. Last weekend I went to Knott's Berry Farm. The weekend before that, I went to Universal Studios. The weekend before that, it was Disneyland. I mean, you can't walk around all day at amusement parks, drive 5, 6, 7 hours at a time without being extraordinarily fit. You just can't do it without expending energy on a regular basis. You just have to be fit. You can't make breakfast every morning and do the dishes and be as disciplined as I am with hygiene and doing laundry and reading and making my bed. Impossible. Completely impossible if you're not physically fit. Impossible. It's impossible to live an amazing life without being physically fit. In fact, physical fitness, if you're physically fit, then you can decide to do things that ordinary people can't decide to do. Like I could decide to go to SeaWorld next weekend if I wanted to. Ordinary people can't decide to do that because they're not physically fit to do the drive or to stand all day at Disneyland. They're just not physically fit to do it. In order to focus, it takes energy to focus. And to do all of this work with an attitude of gratitude, an attitude of positivity, again, that takes work. Do you know where positive energy comes from? It comes from deep down physical energy. It takes physical strength, endurance, power. Those mitochondria have to be working full tilt. Your brain has to be able to produce the neurotransmitters it needs. It needs the energy to produce those neurotransmitters. Energy is key. Exercise is key. It is the foundation to living an extraordinary life. If you're sick all the time, if you're in bed, depressed, you can't do amazing things. You can't go to Grover Beach and hang out at a bonfire because you're not fit enough to carry a chair out onto the beach. So I guess what I'm saying, I'm not just suggesting it. I'm saying there's a rule here. The rule is that physical fitness comes prior to an amazing life. So if you want an amazing life, Am, here's my advice to you. Become extraordinarily physically fit. I think that's the only way to do it. At least that's the foundation. And with that foundation, that'll give you the positive attitude, the ability to be self-disciplined, the ability to take on pleasurable tasks that you enjoy, tasks that give meaning to your life. Without physical fitness at the foundation, none of that is possible. It's just not possible. Then you rely on things like fast food restaurants to produce your amazing food, which is great, but it's a weakness. It's a serious weakness to be reliant on some third party that you got to pay money on to do all your work to make your life semi-pleasurable. It's important for you to produce your own pleasure through action, physical action that you can produce from your body, and also internal. You've got to basically, one key ingredient is recognizing that happiness is generated within. And really the only way to sort of fully produce this internally generated happiness is physical energy of exercise. At least that's my belief. I think that positive energy in one's life is the result of physical energy that you have to expand. If you don't have the physical to expand, then that positive energy is harder to generate. Just imagine for a moment the center of the party, the life of the party. You're at a party at a friend's home, and there's a person who is the center of attention, the center of the party, and he's a positive influence on everybody, right? Imagine man or woman, they are positive influence, really building up the energy of the group, being a focus of entertainment and joy. And what that person has that other people perhaps don't have is the energy to perform in ways that make them happy with a group. You know, it takes energy to do that. It's not just skill. A person can be skilled, but if they don't have the energy to pull it off, then that skill is wasted. So anyway, a little bit of fatherly advice for you, and that is to do your best to develop and build your energy reserves, both in strength and cardiovascular endurance reserves. All right, so let's see what else is going on. All kinds of amazing things, of course, are going on. But what we'll do next, I think, is we'll move on to the next segment. I've been reading from this textbook, Philosophy, the Power of Ideas, the 4th edition by Brooke Noah Moore and Kenneth Bruder. I don't necessarily recommend this philosophy book. It is a perfectly satisfactory, sufficiently adequate textbook. It is not exceptional in any way that I can tell. It is pretty average, definitely average in terms of textbook. But it's a philosophy textbook that I happen to own. It is available. And I also am a lover of philosophy and psychology and science. And I've been having a hankering for learning a little bit more about philosophy lately. And I figured we could read this little passage here on Plotinus, an ancient philosopher. And I personally don't know a lot about Plotinus. I haven't necessarily studied him in great detail, at least that I remember. I did in college, I took a philosophy class called Greek philosophy, and no doubt we discussed Plotinus, but I may not have been paying attention that day. So I figured I'd just go ahead and read the passage, and we'll see where that passage takes us in terms of our discussions today regarding philosophy. Plotinus. Plotinus's interest in philosophy began when he was 28 in Alexandria, the most famous Alexandria, the one in Egypt. Yeah. Remember, the Alexandria Library was there until it burnt down, regrettably. Such tragedy. I know even today, thousands of years later, we're still regretting it. I know I have a deep sense of regret in my heart about the burning of the Alexandrian Library. Okay, I'm getting over it. It's only been 2,000 years. Okay. His first teacher was Ammonius, the sack carrier, who was so called because he earned his living as a gardener. Awesome. What an amazing way to earn your living in early Egypt. Yeah, pretty amazing. So at 244, Plotinus traveled to Rome and founded what came to be a renowned school of Neoplatonic philosophy. Even the emperor Gallienus and his wife Salonia patronized the school. Plotinus tried to get his students to ask questions for themselves. Consequently, the discussions were lively and sometimes almost violent. On one occasion, Plotinus had to stop a particularly ugly confrontation between a senator and a rich man. He urged both parties to calm themselves and think rather only of the one, about which see the text. Plotinus himself was a quiet, modest, and selfless human being. He was thought to possess an uncanny ability to penetrate into the human character and its motives. And so he was sought out for all manner of practical advice. He would not, however, acknowledge his birthday. Fascinating. This is because, at least according to Porphyry, who wrote a biography of Plotinus. Plotinus was ashamed that his immortal soul was contained in a mortal body. And the event of his soul entering his body was therefore something to be regretted. He also would not allow his face to be painted or his body to be sculpted. In fact, his long disregard of his body eventually caused him to lose his voice, and his hands and feet festered with abscesses and pus. Because Plotinus greeted his students with an embrace, the net result was a falling off in enrollment. Oh, poor guy. Plotinus's philosophy had a great influence on St. Augustine and other doctors and fathers of the church. Christian theology is unthinkable without the mystical depth that comes from Plotinus. Fantastic. Wow. So, poor Plotinus, neglecting his bodily self-care, losing his voice, having abscesses on his hands and feet. Unfortunately, not, at least for his hygiene, not being that highly regarded and losing students as a result. So this Neoplatonism, I don't know much about it, but what I've heard in general is this idea of, Plato's ideas of, boy, the ideas are not necessarily coming to mind here, but this idea that abstractions exist in some otherworldly world as real. And, I have heard about Platonism being the root of a lot of religious ideas, and I think that idea is probably true. That connection is true. This idea of the soul entering the body at Plotinus's birth, and Plotinus being ashamed of that, is what I'd call a very religious kind of idea. It's not surprising that St. Augustine would catch on to this idea and promulgate some ideas connected to that. I wish I was more of an authority on this subject. I really am not. So I'm not going to say too much about it, but it's interesting how I think sometimes when I think of very religious people, they do have a tendency to, there's this whole dichotomy between the soul and the flesh. And I think of that dichotomy as being somewhat artificial. For me, I'm one who thinks that, like I said, I believe in a mechanical universe. And so for me, there is no spiritual world that even exists. I think my philosophical roots are not Plato. They are more on the order of Aristotle. And I think it's regrettable. I mean, for Plotinus to have neglected self-care that much. And, it's intriguing that he didn't allow himself to be painted or sculpted. That may or may not have anything to do with his philosophy. I happen to know a number of people who don't like their image recorded in any way. They don't like to be in movies, and they don't like to be in photographs. They're a little shy. And, I can understand that. It may not have had it, that tendency may not have had anything to do with his philosophical ideas. Some people are just shy. So anyway, thank you very much, Philosophy Book, for that brief outline of Plotinus and what he's about. They really didn't necessarily get into his philosophy very much. They only kind of spoke about his characteristics. Maybe but I don't know. I guess that's what comes along with having just a surface summary of a philosopher. It's sometimes, especially an early philosopher, there might have been material about his philosophy that's been lost over the generations. So, okay, well, let me move on to the question and answer period. Q&A. It's time for a little Q&A. Let's see what I can do here. So let's pull up my question and answer period here, my question and answer Kindle ebook that's got the questions. Aha. Question number 76. What's your favorite item to cook and why? Well, I think my favorite item to cook is often the last thing that I've cooked. So right now, the last thing I cooked, something I cooked this morning, was a breakfast pizza, and I'm a fan. I think I could probably make a pizza every single day. Yeah, that's good stuff. So that's my favorite thing to make right now, and that's pizza. In fact, I already have ideas for a lunch pizza. There's a breakfast pizza, lunch pizza, and dinner pizza. So, yeah, I've been also intrigued by making desserts. Because I'm calorie conscious, I can make as many desserts as I want, and I never get fat. Because once I hit my calorie targets, I'm golden. I just refrain from eating until I've got more calories to use. So what's great is that I can be a chef or a cook and not gain any weight in the process. I don't know if you've looked at TV lately, like at the cooking channel. A number of the chefs that are presented on that cooking channel are overweight. It's very easy to do if you're an intuitive eater and if eating and food is what you do for a living, it's very easy to overeat. It's not hard at all. So, but I like making all kinds of food, and I love learning about new techniques, new strategies. Recently, I've been focused on potatoes. I love potatoes, by the way. They're one of my favorite foods. And in fact, lately I've been focused on trying to make the most crispy potatoes that I can. And I have yet to do this, but I'm learning from the internet, like YouTube programs, telling me that I can make crispy potatoes if I boil the potatoes, remove the starches, add what is it? Some kind of baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, to break down the pectin in the potato, and bake the potato, maybe even using flour and spices to spice up my roasted potatoes. So anyways, you can tell I'm thinking about making roasted potatoes a lot lately. And I'm not sure if it's my favorite thing to make, but it's definitely my favorite thing to eat. I love potatoes. So, generally I make russet potatoes and sweet potatoes. Those are the kinds of potatoes I eat regularly. In fact, I've recently read that sweet potatoes have an anti-cancer compound in them. It's a kind of protein. I can't remember what it is. What kind of protein? Is this like a reductase or something? I forget what it is immediately. But it has some kind of cancer-reducing compound in it. And so that's awesome. So, okay. But why? What's my favorite item to cook and why? Well, quite often my favorite items to cook are items that I enjoy eating. So that's why. It's that I enjoy eating them. Maybe not so much that I enjoy cooking them. Well, I wonder what are foods that I really enjoy cooking. Foods that I really enjoy cooking now are foods that I roast. Roasted vegetables, roasted potatoes. And why do I like roasting so much? Well, first of all, I love the aromas that are present in the kitchen when I roast vegetables. I also love the results of roasted vegetables. I love eating roasted vegetables. I also, one thing I love about roasting is that it's so easy. I just throw them on my nonstick pan and stick them in the oven and then forget about it. Set the timer, forget about it, and then I can do other things. In a way, it's sort of like cooking for the lazy, right? It's cooking and yet not cooking at all. So I really appreciate that, the low energy aspect of the cooking. But recently, I've actually also been enjoying working with breads, and that is using Bisquick. I know it sounds odd to use Bisquick, but I don't necessarily want to throw together the yeast or the baking powder or baking soda myself. I'd rather have some other factory entity, some food scientists put it together for me. But eventually, who knows? I'll probably outgrow Bisquick and just start using regular flour myself. So I like the creativity involved in cooking. I like how I can be creative with the recipes. I love how each recipe is very versatile. For example, I can do a lot of active substitutions. I can substitute, say, egg substitutes for egg. I can substitute nut milks for cow's milk. I can do a lot of cool substitutions. So instead of sausage, I can use like a soy sausage. I could figure out some, instead of like spreading oil on my cookie sheet, I could just use a silicone mat, which is a great way to reduce the stickiness of food on metal. So anyway, I'm enjoying cooking right now, so I guess that's why I'm talking at length about it. Question number 77. Do you usually send serious or humorous greeting cards, and why? So I usually send, serious or humorous greeting cards. I would guess it's more of a 50-50 split. What I care about is that it's beautiful, quite often, or funny. So my serious cards, I want them to be beautiful. I want them to have beautiful pictures on them. I want them to be aesthetically pleasing. I want them to have text in fonts that I can read, and using words that sound natural, something that is a work of art. In my serious cards that I send, I like them to be works of art, works of beauty, works of imagination and creative ideas and thoughtful sentiments. And if I can't get any text in a card, in a greeting card that I really like, then I'll just write my own text. Yeah. In fact, I end up sending a lot of greeting cards that I purchased blank. And I send those greeting cards after writing some kind of statement or group of statements in them. But generally, they are in some respects a work of art. Now, the other 50% of the greeting cards that I might send are humorous. They're funny. They may almost be juvenile. And it's not that the humor is off color. It's just that that there's a genuine funny statement in the card itself. Maybe a funny picture, some thoughtful joke that's somewhat ironic present in the greeting card. That is something I look for. So I do look for some creative funniness and humor in my funny cards, that's for sure. I'm also less prone to purchase a blank card and write my own funny words in them. Personally, I don't necessarily see myself these days as sort of a comedian or a joke teller, and I hope to change that. But these days I let the card do the work if I'm gonna send a humorous card. Yeah, so I'm less prone to buy a blank card and put my own jokes in. So then the question is why? Why do I have that proportion of serious to funny cards? It really depends on the context and why I'm sending the card. Typically during holidays, I often tend to send more humorous cards during the holidays because they're there's the serious holiday greeting card is beautiful, but it's an idea that is well played, that it's played out, and sometimes I like a new creative approach in the cards that I send. I like this idea of sort of presenting an alternate perspective. I don't know, but that's definitely for my funny cards. The serious cards, I like them to be somewhat traditional. Okay, next question. Question number 78. Would you ever be interested in observing a surgery, or do you turn away when the nurse brings out the needle, and why? Okay, so I think I would be interested in observing some surgery, but not all surgeries. I tend to steer clear of observing surgeries unless they are fascinating, like unless they are, say, brain surgery or something like that. And if I'm observing brain surgery, I'm mostly interested typically in just one or two parts of the surgery and not the whole thing from beginning to end. I am a little squeamish when it comes to blood. I have been known to observe, say, a wound that's being sort of processed by a nurse and then feel white and have low blood pressure when I observe the blood. I have been known to do that, so I am a little bit skittish when it comes to blood and stuff. And when, say, I'm at the phlebotomist's office getting some blood taken, I will look away. I won't look at the needle as it pierces my vein. So, and who knows? My avoidance of those things might actually influence me in making me more sensitive to sort of observing medical procedures. I know that if I did observe medical procedures all the time, that I would probably become very accustomed to them. And that it's only this avoidance which is making me more sensitive to the to observing the surgery or whatever. So, maybe that's something I should work on. Maybe I should spend more time focused on watching surgeries on YouTube or something like that. I know that there are television programs. I'm pretty sure that there's a television series just about modern surgeries and how they're done, how they're performed. And I'm sure that would be amazingly interesting information to absorb. But that is not something I seek out, honestly. I don't tend to seek out material like that. For example, I'm not a fan of the horror genre, and I'm not a person to read books about horror. I'm not a person to read or expose myself to pictures of gore or anything like that. So I would guess that that is sort of sort of a weakness that I have in some sense. And I'm guessing that 80% of that weakness is self-generated, self-created through choices that I make on my own. So I recognize my responsibility for bringing this to pass. Anyway, next question. Question number 79. Which movies have you watched over and over again? Well, one movie that comes to mind immediately is Groundhog Day. I like watching that movie. I'm not sure why. It gives me a nice sense of, say, the wintertime. And I like Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day is a cool movie. Other movies that I like to watch? I would watch the Indiana Jones movies. At least the first movie, again and again and again. I like that first movie. Let's see, what other movies? You know that movie called Aliens with Sigourney Weaver? I would watch that movie again and again and again and again. I love that movie. It is so exciting. So well done. Aliens. I know. It's one of my favorite movies. What other movies do I really enjoy? Would I see again? You know, I wouldn't mind seeing The Black Stallion again. I also like to see the Disney movies again and again. Beauty and the Beast, I love. And The Little Mermaid, I could watch just again and again and again. I love that Little Mermaid. The Lion King, I could continuously watch that movie in a loop. A lot of animation films, like Toy Story, I could watch again and again and again because there's so much detail, so much depth, so much of the story is just so well constructed, minute by minute. There's a story within a story every minute. Those animated stories are just out of this world in terms of storytelling detail. What other movies would I be interested in watching? Oh, there's another one. Meryl Streep was in it. And she played a person who died. And she was living in this rule-based heaven, so to speak. And it's a love story. I forget what it's called, but I love that movie. And I love Meryl Streep. She's gorgeous. And I think she's a fantastic actress. And I really admire her work. What was the name of that movie? Something to do with going to heaven or something like that. Or something about being dead. I forget what it is. But that was an awesome movie. I'd be happy to watch that again and again and again. It explored the differences in personality between her and this other man who played her boyfriend, I suppose. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. Let's see what's going on with the next question. Question number 80. What do you admire most about your best friend? Well, you know, I don't think I necessarily have a best friend, but I can tell you what I admire most about my friends in general. In general, what I admire most is that their kindness and openness, their generosity of spirit, their positivity, often their good communication skills. I appreciate their maturity and insight. Yeah, I have a lot of friends like that who are living amazing lives. And, I admire what they're able to pull together. I admire their creativity and ingenuity, how they produce costumes and maybe go dancing and are interested in personal growth. I really appreciate that. So there are a lot of admirable characteristics in the friends that I have. I also like how sometimes they step out of their comfort zone and play leadership roles. I admire a lot of my friends for doing that. I think it comes easy, after a while. I don't necessarily play leadership roles often. And I think what I want to do is I want to start playing more leadership roles personally. So that's how my friends are influencing my own behavior. Yeah. All right. Next question. Question number 81. What was one vacation that lasted too long? One vacation that lasted too long? Well, if I have vacation, first of all, vacations for me are short, usually, consisting of 3, 4, 5 days, and that's it. That's about the most lengthy vacations that I have. So about 5 days. So for me to say that a vacation is too long is a very unusual statement for me to make. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, when it comes to, say, my personality type, I'm not one to go on vacation frequently. In fact, I like the routine, my daily work routine. And for me, vacation is a disruptive event. And it's an event that I try to minimize as much as I can because I'm a creature of habit. I mean, I really appreciate having some free time occasionally, but for me, it's all about building daily habits that make me more effective, building that into my day. And so that makes me more regimented and more comfortable in the routine. And, but anyway, but what happens for me is that I end up taking what I call routine vacations that are shortened, like day trips. For example, I've been taking routine vacations to amusement parks lately. Usually I only need 3 days to take most of my vacations. A day to travel there, a day to travel back, and then a full day at the travel site. And that's, for me, those are ideal lengths of vacations. 3 or 4 days would be I don't know, I can't imagine wanting a vacation any longer than 4 days. Any longer than that, and you end up basically getting lost in, the excitement of the vacation, doing things. And that's fine. That's an amazing kind of vacation to have. But, every subsequent day of a vacation like that, I think you lose other, some habituated aspects of your daily life. But anyway, that's me. I'm different from most everyone else in that regard, I think. Next question. Question number 82. To feel rested, how many hours of sleep do you need each night? Well, I'm searching this out right now. In fact, right now, how much sleep am I getting? Like last night, I was surprised that I think I only got 4, 5, 6, 6.5 hours sleep last night. And I am perfectly satisfied in terms of the sleep that I had. And no, I've been on vacation for a couple of days now, and I was certainly expecting to have more than 6.5 hours sleep. So maybe last night was an anomaly. It certainly wasn't forced. It just happened to be the natural duration of sleep that I had last night, 6.5 hours. I found it completely satisfying. But we'll see how it works out. I've been noticing that instead of getting my regular, say, straight eight, which I used to get when I was in my 30s, I'd even call it my straight eight, where I'd get 8 hours of sleep. Nowadays, I'm characteristically getting between 6.5 to 7.5 hours a night and feeling rested. So there's definitely something happening to my sleep patterns in general, where I'm losing a good half an hour of sleep every night. And that's not because of any problem that I'm dealing with. It's just happened to be the natural unfolding of my biology. And so I'm sort of learning about that right now. I'm kind of I was surprised that I'd be able to push my morning routine as early as 4:30 a.m. and have that feel natural. And in fact, it has felt quite natural. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Now I get up at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm perfectly satisfied with that arrangement. So it is puzzling, but also somewhat expected, because I happen to know that older people tend to sleep slightly less than younger people. And as you get older, I think the trend continues. So we'll see how that goes for me. Personally, I prefer to have longer rest periods than shorter ones, because You know, there's a lot of beneficial activity that happens to a person at rest. Their bodies undergo transformation, healing, um, strength building. And the last thing I want to do is cut those periods short if I don't have to. In fact, I definitely lean towards wanting longer sleep periods instead of less long sleep periods. So, next question. Question number 83. What's one guilty pleasure you enjoy too much to give up? Okay, so I've got a lot of guilty pleasures that I enjoy too much to give up. One of my most serious guilty pleasures that I've been indulging in lately is chocolate frosting. I don't know what it is about this substance, but it's the whipped chocolate frosting. I don't know what it is about it. It is some magical substance that brings out the I don't know. I'm not indifferent to chocolate frosting, let's say. I like chocolate frosting on pretty much anything, on bread, on donuts, on cake. I don't know what it is about chocolate frosting. You know, another frosting that I really enjoy is German chocolate cake frosting. You know, that whole coconut pecan frosting. I'm really into that. And there was also a time that I was really into carrot cake and carrot cake frosting. Yum. That is some good stuff. So anyway, I've been indulging in chocolate frosting lately. But thankfully, recently I've been calorie counting that frosting. So I'm not busting my caloric targets every day. So it's not going to make me any fatter, but it is a guilty pleasure that I have. And I'm not going to give it up, at least not anytime soon. So what's one guilty pleasure you enjoy too much to give up? I think I've got a number of them. Number one is granola bars. I love store-bought granola bars. Now, I know quite often they've got corn syrup in them and artificial flavors and colors and preservatives and things like that, but I just still love them. I love granola bars. I love the oat flavors and the bits of chocolate, the bits of raisins, the bits of nuts. I mean, the bits of dried fruit. I love granola bars, you know, and maybe that might be something that I can try to prepare in my own kitchen. Maybe I can make some granola bars myself. You know, I could use that. I could probably make some granola bars with oats and Bisquick. I bet you I can pull something out of the hat and make something in my oven, make some granola bars in my oven that way. You know, I think I'm getting excited. I think that's what I want to do next, maybe for lunch. Make some awesome granola bars. So what other guilty pleasures do I enjoy too much to give up? Well, you know, I got a lot of pleasures that I enjoy, and they're not necessarily all guilty. Let me tell you about, I've been thinking about the things that give me pleasure lately, and I think I've come up with a handful of things that really do give me pleasure. Are you ready to hear them? So here's a group of maybe 5 things that give me pleasure. Number 1, roller coasters. I like roller coasters. I like getting my body thrown around, accelerating, decelerating, swerving. I love the feeling of the acceleration, the deceleration, the rapid surprise. I love roller coasters. And I don't know why that is. Yeah, I don't feel guilty about it. It's just like, I don't know if when you were a kid, I know, Emily, you enjoyed being in a swing and swinging back and forth. I just find it enjoyable too, even as an adult. For me, it's roller coasters, but for a lot of other people, it can be motorcycles or fast cars. For me, roller coasters are more my speed. I know people also get their thrills on bicycles and roller skates and skateboards and things like that, or surfing and skiing. But for me right now, roller coasters is the bomb. Okay, what else do I enjoy? Number 2, I just said it, chocolate frosting. I don't know what it is about chocolate frosting. That's like, now I do feel somewhat guilty about that because it's not the most healthy food in the world. But chocolate, and it's not just chocolate frosting, but it's chocolate. Chocolate. Roller coasters and chocolate. Those are two things that I really, really enjoy. Okay, what else? Music. I enjoy listening to music. Music of all kinds. I love classical music, smooth jazz. I love oldies but goodies. I love hip hop, um, but not any of the really hard hip hop. I uh, I love I love rock and roll music. Um, there's just so many kinds. I love shoegazing music. Lots of different styles. I suppose especially like electronic dance music and just even pop music. I'm a big fan of pop music, just music of all sorts, music of all kinds. Love music, a big music lover. So roller coasters, chocolate, and music. What else? Dancing. I love dancing. What can I say? I want to dance. My body needs to dance. I need to move this body of mine. So here are the four things: roller coasters, chocolate, music, and dance. And what else? There's another thing. If I could just, well, meeting new people. That wasn't going to be on the list, but it's now on the list. Meeting new people, something I really, really enjoy, deeply enjoy. I love also just being around people. I like crowds of people, being amongst group of people, participating in group projects. So, I mean, these are the things that really, really bring me joy. Roller coasters, chocolate, music, dance, and groups of people. Now, there's one other thing that really gave me joy. I thought about it for a moment, but then I just forgot about it. What is that sixth thing that brings me joy? What can it be? Hmm. I can't remember. There was one other thing that brings me serious, unadulterated joy, but it doesn't come to mind at the moment. Well, I guess I'll just have to talk to you later about it. What is that sixth thing that brings me unconstrained joy? Hmm. Can't remember. Oh well. I'll just have to leave it for later as a surprise. Okay, next question. Question number 84. Who performs more random acts of kindness than anyone else you know? Give the details. Okay, who performs more random acts of kindness than anybody I know? Hmm. Well, I have a lot of friends that perform acts of kindness all the time. Hmm. I don't know. I do happen to have a friend, and she organizes a lot of outings for people. And she's very inclusive. And so I admire her leadership and her focus on inclusivity. Um, that's the person who I think is the kindest person I know right now that comes to mind, that's available in the front of my mind. Her name is Kimmy. Kimmy. But who else? I've got a lot of friends who are really kind. Anyway, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I'll answer one more question and then I'll wrap things up. Question number 85. What jingle comes to your mind? Hum or whistle it right now and see if others can correctly guess it. Oh, man. Oh. You know, all these songs are melding in my mind. That was supposed to be Jingle Bells, but I'm not sure it ended up as Jingle Bells. It's funny. Human minds have the ability to produce music on a moment's notice, but But often these songs are a conglomeration of multiple songs. Have you noticed that? At least for me, one song melds into another, which melds into another. Well, anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I just want to say that thank you for clicking the link and letting me be a part of your life this morning. Thank you for being open enough to allow my presence into your life somewhat. Thank you for at least being a witness to what's going on in my mind and in my life and in my body right now. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity to express who I am more clearly to you, so that you understand me better. I recognize that your time is valuable. I know that as a young person, you, particularly now in this age of high technology, that you are exposed to a lot of material that is entering your life, and you have to be very selective about what material you let in, so to speak, what material you select for your enjoyment and edification. And that you've chosen this video, at least for a time, is very satisfying to me, and I really appreciate it. I think of it as an honor, and I just respect the regard that you give to me, and I just want to give you my sincere thank you for just your willingness to be present with me in the moment right now. And that means a lot to me. It means a lot to us and our connection. And I'm so pleased that you have the thoughtfulness and foresight to and judgment to make such a good decision to click that link and get to know me a little bit better. Maybe in my storytelling and in my speech, you noticed areas of connection, points where there is similarity, points where you recognize where, this mind is the same as my mind. After all, we have 50% of the same genetic information. Our DNA is similar. And so if there is anyone who knows what it's like to live inside your body, it is me and your mom. And I'm so thankful that I'm still alive, even now as you grow older. Right now, you're about 14 and a half years old. I'm so thankful that I'm alive and able to experience you being the age that you are, and I just feel so grateful that you're healthy and strong and emotionally mature, and I too am healthy and strong and emotionally mature, and we're able to sort of join one another in mutual partnership and explore this amazing universe around us, the universe of ideas through philosophy and science and psychology, and we're able to integrate all those ideas into one and use it to improve our bond and connection as a father-daughter pair, right? Absolutely. So, with that, with feelings of peace and hope, I, for one, do have a real strong sense of hopefulness for me that our arrangement, our relationship will get stronger and stronger and stronger year by year. We are breeding a familiarity with one another, with each other's ways, with each other's minds, with how we move our bodies. We're developing a deeper connection every day, and every day I wake up and I ask myself, what is one small way that I can make a positive contribution to Emily? How can I support her growth? And how can I support our relationship? I ask myself these questions, and I come up with answers, and I try to implement those answers every day, and in the hopes of building a bridge, certainly just providing an offer to you to build on something that I think has a lot of potential. That is, our relationship has a lot of potential for growth, fulfillment, meaning, self-understanding, self-reflection, personal development. I'm all about those things. And this overarching hopefulness and optimism is something that's just characteristic of my personality. So it is what it is. So with that, Emily, I want to tell you that I love you. And I am telling you that I love you, and that I love you just the way you are. That sentiment is one of acceptance. Come to me as you are. There's no reason to change or put on a certain face or persona. For me, my goal is acceptance, generosity, and unconditional positive regard to my most beautiful daughter, Emily. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.